Just ask me.
Okay.
So if you're talking a lot, it would be hard for you to tweet. So probably if you're just talking, I'll be live.
Yes, we're live. That's okay. Hey, that's real. Welcome everybody to another Social Cafe Twitter chat and hangout. If you're following us on Twitter, then you probably already know how to find us, but it's the hashtag Social Cafe. And if you want to watch live, which obviously you'd already be hearing me, it is Social Web Cafe TV. That's .tv/live. All right, and tonight we have Ira, I'm so happy to meet you. And literally, guys, I'm just meeting him now. So this is so thrilling. I've been excited all day. Ira, take it away and introduce yourself and your product.
Well, thanks so much for having us. My name's Ira Haberman. I'm the marketing director at Atomic Reach, and we're a software platform that helps bloggers, brands, and digital publishers write quality content. And so we have two platforms, or two products really. Atomic Insights, which, as the name suggests, gives you insight into your content, but more importantly, your audience. And then we have a plugin that sits in your CMS called the Atomic Engager, which allows you to be predictive about the kind of results you're going to have from writing that quality content.
And I've just started to use that. I mean, literally, I think I've used it on one article. At
Cool.
first, I was like, how could you possibly pick on my writing? But there's actually valuable insights on that. Now, I haven't used it to its full scope. Can you give us some examples of maybe case studies off the top of your head?
Sure. So there's a health clinic in Midwest United States in the town of Cleveland, and I won't say much more about who they are, but a health clinic.
You say hot in Cleveland. No, sorry.
And they've been using our platform for about 6 months now, and what they've found is that by using our platform and our series of steps, they've been able to increase their page views 4 times. So it's pretty significant for a company that relies on health advocacy to be able to grow their audience in such a powerful way. We also have another client who works out of he's a sales mentor, I guess is the best way to put it, and he's been using our system only for about 2 months now, and he's seen 100% growth in his Facebook fans. So basically what we like to tell people is if you create quality content, you're going to get quality results, and by that we mean larger audiences, which is pretty exciting.
That really helps because there's no point in writing an article, just for your dog. As much as the dog might enjoy it, you really want to.
Yeah. Well, the other key point is that our platform really helps you write quality content for real people, like you and I, Barb. Not like an algorithm or a bot that somehow is going through content and looking for key content. So, we're really big believers in Panda and what Google is trying to do with assessing content from a quality point of view instead of just keyword stuffing and other black hat kind of SEO tactics. That's the old school, and I think we're done with that. For content to really resonate with real people, it's important that you craft your story and your message for those people. We think that that's the most important thing you can do.
And that's based on, I'm not asking for any, secrets, of course, but you're using the algorithm. We love that word in this day and age, but that's based on real results too. It's not like you guys have sat down and said, well, this is we're the authority and this is what we think you should do. This is based on actual results.
Yeah, so we've done a lot of research around the way in which you and I and other people like us read content. And so what we found over 18 months of research is, at the heart of what we do, it's really around the way in which we structure content for individuals' knowledge level around the topic. So topic aside and even demographics aside, the way in which content resonates with an audience is really key. And so, my daughter and I are both huge Toronto Blue Jay fans, and she's only 11, so she doesn't fit in any kind of demographic bucket that I fit in. But having said that, when we read Toronto Blue Jays content, we read it with a certain cognizance, and it resonates with us, and so that we're able to engage with a higher kind of level of content in terms of statistics or things about players that maybe are at a higher level. But this is an 11-year-old girl, and it's all because the content resonates with her. And so we think that that's key. We think that this idea of structuring your content to your audience's sophistication level around that content is really, really important. And so our algorithm does that. You know, and I'll say a little bit more about our algorithm. It's not just about that. So our algorithm takes 21 measures into account. Everything from spelling and grammar to sentence length to paragraph density to even the kinds of words you use to evoke a bigger emotion out of your audience. So it really is a fascinating piece of technology. And you know, I say that as somebody who was involved in digital content creation. I spent the better half of the last decade in digital content creation for one of Canada's largest broadcasters. So I was right there. I was right at the front line creating content for people to read and enjoy. And so I think a tool like this only helps the process and really helps you understand who your audience is and how to create better content for them.
I think that's key, understand your audience. Like, I ran my article through and I used the word transformational leadership, and your system didn't like the word transformational. And I'm like, that is a term. I'm studying psychology, and that is the term. That's a paper.
Sure.
But you have the dictionary, and that's cool. You can add those. When you know that this is actually a word, even if it's a buzzword, you can add that to your own custom dictionary. Isn't that how that works?
Yeah, you can add. Yeah, so you know, your first probably entree into Atomic Reach was with the Engager attached to a WordPress account, I assume. Right. So
great segue, by the way. No.
Yeah. But did I mention I used to work for a broadcast company? Anyway, so the point is that, you know, some people come to Atomic Reach and their first glance at Atomic Reach is by using the Atomic Engager app, which is a CMS plugin. But the other part is, and really the critical part, is the Atomic Insights platform, where you feed in an RSS and your Google Analytics and your social accounts, and then you can really learn who your audience is, so that it makes the use of the Atomic Engager platform that much more powerful. Because once you know who your audience is and how you write for them and where you've seen success, you can really do great things with the Atomic Engager product.
So in theory, a 5-year-old, even though I think you have to be 13 for most platforms, so a 5-year-old, assuming they could, you know, go and blog, and I'm sure there's 5-year-olds blogging. Anyway, and their audience, and maybe talking about their favorite color crayon colors or the pictures that they're drawing, things like that. Yeah. And on the other end, the professor that's using words like transformational, it actually would work for either end. That's
right. So we believe that audiences are made up of about 5 knowledge/sophistication levels, from general all the way up to genius. And so there's this big light on me. It's kind of funny. Anyway, like the words of God or something. Anyway, from general to genius, and in between there's knowledgeable, specialist, and academic. And anybody can write to any of those levels based on the way they structure their content. It's less about themes. So you could write about a dog in a very general, practical kind of way, or and so one audience would relate to that kind of content, or you could write about a dog from a very biological, physiological kind of way, and one audience may relate to that content differently. But the way you structure your content for those different audiences is different. Everything from the language that you use, to your point, it could be jargon, or it could be lack of jargon. It could be colloquial terms or lack of colloquial terms. All of those things are things that our product evaluates so that we can help you write better content. And it's less about, for us, it's less about, as I mentioned earlier off the top, it's less about the social engine optimization practicality of doing that, and rather about just the ability to create really great content. We never want to take away the art of creating great content, and that's all about theme and subject matter and material. We just want you to structure it in an appropriate way so that you can be more successful with your content.
Excellent. We like that. And Gail, I'm sure that you have questions, so if you want to unmute, go for it.
Well, not too much questions, I just want to give some people some insights. I've actually used it. Ann Smarty manages a blog that has it installed, and I find it interesting trying to get it to, upgrade. The suggestions for stronger writing in the active voice are very helpful. The dictionary never has the words in it. I very rarely misspell anything, but so the dictionary isn't that helpful for me, but would be very helpful for someone who can't spell. The grammar is very helpful for everyone. It thinks I'm boring, but I try to get unboring.
Yeah.
It gives some great tips for titles. The titles function is very useful. And I don't think I've seen the analytics part because the blog that I'm talking about, I only have contributor status, so I don't actually get to see the analytics part. I just get to see I'm trying to get the numbers up.
Yeah.
I don't actually know what the target number is. The number ranges 0 to 100?
Yeah, and what we tell people is that really 60 is a great starting place, and we've never really seen an article above an 82. So what we tell people is to aim for 60 and over, but you really do need that atomic insights piece, and you really do need to understand your atomic score to really make the platform useful. If I could, I'd like to comment on just a couple of things that you said, because as the guy who's involved in the product marketing, I need to address some things. So, and Gail, I love your icon thing. It's great. It's a talking arrow, but it doesn't talk. It just sits there. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, yeah, there are some things in our platform that we're only limited to by technology. So first you mentioned the dictionary, which is an interesting one because our dictionary doesn't recognize proper nouns, so that's obviously going to be an issue, and if you've spelt Ira Haberman correctly, then it won't know that until you add it to the dictionary. Sometimes there are issues with copying and pasting text into the platform where the dictionary kind of goes wonky because you've copy and pasted things, and there might be a halo effect from that copying and pasting. As far as emotion goes, that really is the trickiest part of our platform, and it's something that we know we're working on. But if you think about emotion, we like to think that emotion happens on 3 levels. And those 3 levels are polarity, impact, and force. And so impact is all around whether or not you've been caused to take action based on something you've read. Force is persuaded one way or another based on something you've read, specifically in the article that you've created. And the last is polarity. Are you happy, sad, or indifferent about the article you've just read? And as you can imagine, with so many words coming in and out of a person's piece of content, it's hard for us to quickly quantify and analyze the emotional words, or as we call them, the juicy words that people are using to really create a more engaging piece of content. I can tell you, Gail, that it is something we're working on, and it probably doesn't think you're boring. It probably doesn't really understand the words that you're using. So the good news is emotion is a measure that we are fine-tuning as we speak, and I believe within the next 2 to 4 weeks, emotion will be a lot easier to use and a lot simpler to use. Remember, I said that if a piece of content resonates with your head and your heart, you're bound to engage a larger audience, and that's where emotional language really does its best in relating to a person's heart.
And it's easier for your algorithms to measure, like, the effect as far as the head, right? I mean, emotion seems like a hard thing to measure, and that not many of your competitors would be doing that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny. There are competitors. You know, Hemingway app is a very good tool for just content creation, but I think where they fall short is they don't have the engagement piece. So, you know, it's great to write a piece of quality content, but it's more important, I think, to not only write a piece of quality content, but understand how your audience is engaging with that piece of content. And so that's where we kind of do a little more. There's Grammarly for grammar checking. There's, I don't know, all kinds of spell check platforms on the market, but you know, there's nothing that in its totality brings everything together like the Atomic Engager does. And when you add the Atomic Insights piece, well, frankly, there's nothing else on the market. We don't compete with other people who have products like ours. We compete with other content marketing platforms when people are picking and choosing what to do within their ecosystem, but there simply aren't other products like ours on the market.
Well, I think that it's probably fairly accurate. I don't write very emotional because I'm not a very emotional person. I tend to write about practical things and solutions that people would use, like get response, or I mean, it's just the kind of stuff that I tend to write isn't going to evoke a lot of emotions.
Sure. Because
I don't write. You know, there are people that would write things that are very controversial just to get a buzz out of people. Like you can create, if you write something that's very polarizing, you can get a lot more emotions going, and that'll get you a lot of viral buzz.
For sure.
That's not the kind of stuff I tend to write. I tend to write very practical things on how businesses can, use tools to get to build their small business. And so I think it's probably accurate. I probably am not the most exciting writer in the world. I'm just a very direct, clear writer.
Right, and so the platform doesn't penalize you. So let's be clear. Your atomic score can be achieved by all kinds of different things within the plugin. So, like, for example, if we understood that Anne's blog, which we're all big fans of, Anne Smartley's blog, we're all big fans of, if we all agreed that or the algorithm, the system agrees that her atomic score is a 70, there are all kinds of different ways to achieve that 70. And so once you achieve that 70 on our system, we say, great, you've done what you needed to do to get your maximum kind of engagement. And then there is kind of a law of diminishing returns. So even if you write above your atomic score, you're probably creating a more compelling piece of content, but you aren't necessarily going to garner a greater amount of audience for writing that more compelling piece of content. So, Gail, in your case, my suggestion to you would be try to match that atomic score by any other means aside from emotion.
Right. See, I don't know exactly how that all works, except that when I write content, it tends to get a score around 65. And I'm happy with that because I write stuff. I try to take complicated topics and make them easy for everyone to understand.
And you do, by the way.
So I think that I'm happy with it as long as I can. As long as there's really no misspelled words, and I fix all the grammar things where it's telling me to write in an active voice, which is my number one thing it tells me, which is good for me.
Yeah.
And like I said, it has been very helpful with titles, and and then when it tells me that my writing's not emotional, I have to agree with it, and I usually go, yep, you're right, and submit the post or publish the post. And because I'm not a super emotional person, and I don't write about super emotional topics, so it's probably right.
And I think we'd wonder if all of a sudden you wrote a piece that was really emotional, Gail. I think I'd have to call you up and just check to make sure you're okay.
You really wrote that.
Yeah, it's not. So the thing about emotion is that it's not necessarily oh, cute little puppy dog. It is more about evoking some kind of visceral reaction from the audience. And sometimes, that visceral reaction can be, wow, I'm going to take what Gail just wrote about and I'm going to use that tool, or I'm really excited about what Gail just wrote about, and so I'm going to try my hand at a technique that she suggested in her post. So emotional and visceral response isn't necessarily just an open heart or a closed heart. Sometimes emotional response is just the way in which you viscerally respond to something. And so I think, Gail, knowing the kind of work that you do, the chances are high, just as Deborah just mentioned, the chances are high that people are responding to the kind of writing that you do, even though it's not necessarily on what we would traditionally think of as emotionally charged writing. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And Gail, your writing is what I would consider evergreen. Unless the tool goes away, if I want to know about something, all I do is go use the Google and actually check site growmat.com, and I know that I can find a very kind of like the mini ultimate guide on anything.
Yeah, and I actually do update them. If the tool changes, I'll go and update the post. So
it'd be great.
Yeah, that's what I'm more known for. Yeah.
It'd be great to talk to Anne about getting her set up on Atomic Insights, and really anybody who's on the call today. If you go to bit.ly/atomicscore, we'll find out who you are, and we'll make sure that we reach out to you directly over the next couple of days and get you signed up on Atomic Insights, so that you can really understand what your atomic score is, and so you can begin to create content that will have a positive impact on both your social and web metrics. Which at the end of the day, it's nice to be great writers, but at the end of the day, we're all doing it for a reason, whether that's because we get paid to blog or because we advertise on our site or whatever the kind of KPI and ROIs are. We think that by using our tool, you're going to grow whatever those metrics are, and so we've seen that time and time again. And tonight I'm offering anybody who's on the Social Cafe chat or even in this Google Hangout, if they go to bit.ly/atomicscore, we'll hook them up and make sure they're treated appropriately.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And Ira, I have a question related to something you said about diminishing returns. And you know how you talk about the tweet that's out there and it's not out there for very long, and so you make sure you send it out different times a day and the whole thing. I found that with blog posts. If I spend like 3 days just coming up with something that I think, Nobel Peace Prize, it's still only going to get so much attention. I might as well not put quite that much effort, and maybe I can write 5 articles instead. But it's like there's a shelf life to blog posts.
Yeah, so the thing is that we tend to tell people that if they spend about 15 to 20 minutes really perfecting their piece of content and they do great work, 5 quality blog posts is a lot better than writing 7 blog posts. And so if you spend the time, we really believe in this notion of quality over quantity, and so I think it's the same thing. And I do want to address the Twitter thing, but that's kind of how we feel about it. So if you're able to really spend the time and master your craft and master the kind of writing you do for your audience, you're gonna do a lot better than if you don't. I just want to respond to the Twitter thing.
And be sure and pitch your Twitter chat, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. Well, our Twitter chat is almost as exciting as this one. I was on Buffer Chat this week, and it is crazy. Like the amount of tweets that come in, it's almost unmanageable. So shout out to Buffer Chat, but it's crazy. Atomic Chat is Monday nights at 9 o'clock. So if you missed us last night, we'll be back next Monday night. We always have a guest around content marketing and themes around blogging and other content marketing practices. Just on Twitter quickly, one of the things that Atomic Insights does for you is it lets you know the most appropriate times of day for you to tweet based on how your audience has already responded. So instead of guessing in Buffer or Hootsuite or Social Flow or any of those when you want to schedule your posts, our platform makes it easier. We'll tell you when to schedule your tweets. And a good thing, I've been at this for a long time, and the chances of one person coming across your tweet with so many followers, and not to be vain, but to be exactly opposite of vain, I realize that people are following thousands of publishers, thousands of brands, thousands of people. It's okay to retweet something or to put it in there. There are times where we have a really hot story. We'll put it on the Twitter 5-6 times a week because we really do want people to see what we're writing. And if we just do it at once, they'll miss it. So I'd encourage people to retweet and not be afraid to recycle and reuse content. Even your evergreen content, Gail. You have so much great evergreen content. You should be re-examining that and making it part of kind of the way you do business on a regular basis, because there's so much valuable content that you're producing. It'd be a shame to just kind of set it and forget it. You got to let your audience know about that time and time again.
Well, we've actually done a hangout recently where we taught them how to do Canva images, and
right.
That's the number one thing I do with Canva is I make an image for Twitter for our evergreen content, and I keep one image pinned to the top of my Twitter account all the time.
Great.
I actually have a post on my site, quality not quantity. So I'm going to agree with that. Quality is really important, and writers of almost any level, honestly, probably any level, can get a lot out of this tool. Even if you didn't keep it forever, if you got it for a while, you would learn where your weaknesses were,
right,
and strengthen that.
Yeah, but you do kind of want to keep it forever because we're always introducing new measures. So.
Sorry, I didn't get loud.
Get in the door. You're going to get them to stay for all the goodies on it.
Yeah.
Danny Brown is really good. Did you see Danny Brown's review? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, of course.
Brown did a very good review. It's got a video in it, and I shared that link in the Twitter chat earlier.
Thanks so much. Yeah, Danny has been a fan, and Danny lives in Toronto, and he always stops by the office to see what we're cooking up, and so it's really great that he did that video. I mean, it's 17 minutes long. You could write a blog post about Danny Brown's video and probably do really well. But to your point, we are helping anybody, whether they're a mastercraft blogger like Gail or like Deborah, to even the novice and the very early bloggers. We have people on our staff. It's funny, at Atomic Reach, everybody contributes to our blog, and so everybody is tasked, from developers to our business development team to even the people on the marketing team. Even our CEO occasionally blogs, and everybody does it because everybody has to understand how the tool works, but we also have to understand how different people use the tool. So, Gail, to your point, it's a very relevant one. From a novice writer to really a senior seasoned writer like Danny Brown, Marcus Sheridan, all of those types of people, who have been blogging forever, they all find an aspect to the tool that's really helpful for them. And then there are people who say things to us like, you know what, thanks for your feedback on title, but title's not something that I'm going to trust somebody else on. I'm going to continue to write my titles, but wow, paragraph density. I know I write really thick, juicy paragraphs that nobody can get through. It's really great that there's something that identifies what those paragraphs are for me. The other thing is that, I come from a journalism background, and I think about all those people in newsprint who have for their entire lives been writing content and structuring content for a big open fold. And the bottom line is we don't read very few of us read content. We all read content from this thing or this thing. And so the experience and the way we structure paragraphs, the way we structure sentences has changed so considerably, even in the last 5 years, that there's always going to be a need for a tool that helps you understand who your audience is and how they're reading your content. And we think our tool does that.
Yes, thank you for the paragraph thing, because I was used to writing the big long ones, and somehow I look academic, and it's like, I don't read the long ones. Why would it?
Yeah, you know what? And I got called out. I wrote a blog post a couple months ago, and I said, it's a masterpiece. I can't believe that the algorithm or the tool is telling me that it's no good. And the bottom line is, when you have really thick paragraphs that fill up your entire screen, who's going to read a paragraph that's this thick? Nobody. Right? Nobody. You're already scrolling through to avoid those monster paragraphs. So,
like I do, and you just don't do paragraphs. In journalism, a paragraph is one section.
Yeah.
What I do is my paragraphs are like 2, maybe 3 lines long. I've always done it that way because it's hard to read it if it's 4 or 5 lines long, which is the current standard, I think. Most people in blogs have 5 lines, maybe 6. I like 2 to 3 on my blog. I think it makes it easier to read, but that means that sometimes more than one paragraph is really the same thing we would have in the old days put into one paragraph.
Yeah, and it is really about how people are reading your content now, and how people are, it's great that we're evolving as a human race, and we're understanding how people are ingesting content and understanding content, and to me, for the sake of literacy, it doesn't really matter if they're reading it on this device, or I keep doing this. I just have a lot of toys around me. It doesn't matter what device they're reading it on. Whether that's a newspaper or a mobile tablet or a mobile phone, what matters is that our message is clear, succinct, and it's something that our audience can relate to, and that's probably the most important thing.
Definitely. Ira, thank you so much for joining us. I'm not trying to cut you. I could talk to you for another half hour, but I want to make sure that this goes out while the people are still there and they see the video. And now people can sign up for a free account, like a one blogger account, so they can try it out before actually going up to like the enterprise level, right?
So there's a couple of things that people can do. One is they can try our tool just on our website at EngagerLite, EngagerLite, one word, .atomicreach.com, or tonight, if they go to bit.ly/atomicscore, we'll hook them up with an account, and don't tell anybody. The account will be good for a while, and they don't have to worry about enterprise or any of those things. So anybody who signs up, let's say in the next 12 hours, and we'll know who you are by filling out the form, your account will be good for a while, and we'll let you play with the tool. We'll let you play with Atomic Insights for a while, and we'll let you play with Atomic Engager for a while. And I think, our hope is that you'll have a lot of fun, and more to the point, you'll garner a bigger audience for your awesome work. Because we all know that everybody's capable of creating great quality content.
Very cool. Thank you. And guys, if you're watching this video later, which will happen after 12 hours, I'm sorry that you missed the opportunity, but you can follow Atomic Reach, that's atomic_reach on Twitter, or Social Web Cafe, and hashtag Atomic, wait, it is Atomic Reach for the... Atomic Chat. I was on a roll. Hashtag Atomic Chat.
Yeah,
Monday nights.
You know what? We'll say this. We'll say anybody who's watching this, reach out to @Ira Haberman on Twitter, and we'll get you hooked up and taken care of.
Oh, you're a doll. Thank you so much.
I want to say one more thing. I want to give a shout out to Tamara Wilson, who says blogging is addictive, and I think someone else said that using the tool is addictive. Playing with it and trying to get it to give you a better number. Analytics can drive more passion in what you're doing.
Definitely. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We'll see you next week, Social Cafe, 9 p.m., and join Atomic Chat the day before. I can find